with a listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, as she glides along the woodland by the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engines, hear that lonesome hobo's call. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of 3D Terrain Studio Building a Lifetime Layout. We're currently using version 3, and I should explain that there is a version 4. And I'll be showing you that in the next episode. We're going to be starting with a new project. And an empty plate. We'll be taking the base and the sidewalls off so that it's just a flat sheet. And then changing the dimensions. Now I've written a note down here that gives me the dimensions that we'll be using. So we'll be going with 975 and 305, and then we're doubling that. And the reason why we're doubling that is when you use a plate that is 16 by 5, it tends to be a little bit crowded with not enough room to put the scenery and the buildings in and so forth. So I double that. Now it'll go ahead and in a second change that. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Now that we've got the plate in place, let's go ahead and apply a texture to it. Now I'm going to use a brush that's 1,000 millimeters or 100 meters, 100 centimeters. And we'll go ahead and we'll pick a material. Scroll down, pick red brick. Shrink that down to a really small size. Change the gradient to 0 because on this we want hard edges, and then we'll turn the paint mode on. And there we go. We've got the board all painted. I'm going to switch the view to the grid view, and you'll note that it doesn't line up with 0, 0. So to fix that, we'll go to the position, and we will go ahead and calculate where it belongs. We'll do that by taking 975.0 and divide that by 2. So our X position is going to be 4875. And you'll note it moved right to 0, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take the Y, which is 3050, again divide by 2, and the Y is going to be 1525. And now we're at 0 and 0. I'm going to zoom in on this now with the plus key. And then we'll go ahead and scroll up to the top. And I've calculated that the track should start in the range of about 6,400. Now we're going to be using tracks made by a company called Pico, and we want their HO track. We want to put in a 3-way switch. We also want to put in a piece of curved track and a piece of straight track. Now if we take the curved track and rotate that -90, then we have the piece exactly the way we want it. And we need to look at the properties of this piece of track, because the length of the straight track should be 23907. So we'll select that, we'll edit that. And it is in fact 23907. Going back to our switch and looking at the curved pieces, we're looking at 907.97 and 15. So we'll take the curve and we'll edit that. (907.97) and an angle of 15. So now we have the pieces we want. Move this over here. I want to move out just a little bit so that it's visible. We're leaving the pieces that we originally selected as basically templates. If you hold down the Alt key, on a piece, then you can pull one off without actually taking the original. So we've gone ahead and we've edited those, and for some reason zoom out a little bit. As you can see, we've used a 3-way switch, curved pieces and straight pieces, and built a 7-track turnout. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this and we're going to select all the pieces in that, and we're going to go under Edit and Group. And the reason why we're doing that is because we can take this now and move the all as one piece, and we want to go in 7 squares for the top track, which is right here. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. And we want this edge to be lined up with 8400. So we'll slide it in. And now we've got this all laid out. And once you've got two pieces of track joined, which this over here, the switch set is one, and these are the second ones, we can append another track. And we'll do that. And then we need to place a piece of track between here and here. Now the best way to do that is to place a piece of what they call flex track. And we're going to bend the flexible track, join there. And we'll go ahead and we'll scroll down, grab the other end, bring it up, connect it like so. And we'll grab another one. I want to show you, and we'll actually do this in 3D, when you have a piece of flexible track selected, it turns a kind of a yellowish, and when you've got like selected bending flexible track, when you're in the right position it turns green. So we'll just pull that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll stick one more piece in there, and we'll bring that down. Then we want to zoom in so that we can line each piece up exactly. We'll go back to the grid view. Now you'll note all these green lines indicate that the tracks are all joined properly. The red line indicates that it's not joined. So let's go back and view our track sections. And we're going to be bringing a piece of track around from here over to here, and from here around to here as well. I won't actually show that while it's being done, but I will show you after it's finished. This is a grid view of the end of the switch assembly for the parking. Now we're zoomed in quite close, and you should actually be able to see the grid, the squares. Each square is 5 millimeters. And so we zoom out, and I've gone ahead and measured from this point down halfway to this point, which is halfway down the grid, and calculated the radius for the curve. I put the track sections in, and we'll zoom over. And so this is the curve that comes off that end, and it goes in a half circle. I will be putting a couple more sections on the end right now, and we're going to go ahead and then we'll take this last section and we'll turn it 180, and so it actually straightens out and comes out the way we want it. I have brought up the plans for the hidden yard and scaled them the same as the actual layout. The only thing we're interested on this plan at the moment is the track that goes down to the parking level, and I've marked here where the track goes below the hidden yard at 1 inch down, and then again at 2 inches down. I measured these using the grid and transferred the information to the parking level. Using the measurements from the plans, I placed staves in at the appropriate locations here, here, and here. And then I went ahead and I placed a 10 millimeter or 1 centimeter section on each staff, centered exactly and at the appropriate height. This one being over here is 3 inches. Two inches, 1 inch, and then I went ahead and I put one in here at ground level, or 0 inches. Then using FlexTrack, which can be both bent and raised and lowered, I attached a piece of FlexTrack here and brought it around and brought it down to this level at the 2 inch level, and then did the same thing at the 1 inch and at the 0 over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the track, and I'm going to put the width on this at 70, and we'll adjust the terrain, which will actually raise the ground to meet the track. And we'll do the same thing here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll scroll over and we'll catch the final piece. Now you can't see very clearly what we've done with this yet, but if we go down to the end and tilt the track, you can see how this gradually goes uphill and the ground has been raised to meet the track. There are tiny gaps where each of these red poles is, and the reason why is because when it raises the track, it stops when it hits the end of the track, and there are tiny pieces of track here, here, and here. We'll go ahead and we'll highlight the marker staves and delete them since we no longer need them. And then we'll go ahead and we'll start working on bringing this track, and let me go ahead and bring this up and adjust it. We'll work next on bringing this track around in a curve and meet this track here. I've gone ahead and placed a switch here because we've got 3 tracks that need to be joined. And I've put a straight piece on here and then 3 small 3-centimeter track pieces. Now, rather than using curved track to go from here over to here, I'm going to go ahead and try to use a flex track. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose the bending flexible track, take the end, stretch it around, and join the track up here. And you'll note this forms a nice smooth curve. And now we'll go ahead and we'll take a piece and we'll do the same thing off of here, and we'll bring it around and zoom out a little bit and scroll over to here. Take the end of this track and we'll see if we can't bring it around to this track here. And we may need to zoom in and scroll over so that we can see where the 2 tracks ends are to join them. And when we zoom out, we find that this end down here is just way too steep of a curve, so we're not going to be able to use that. The only way to tell for sure when laying track if it's going to work or not is to go ahead and experiment. Since we couldn't do that, we'll have to go ahead and take some curved track and we'll take this and bring it up here, edit the track, and we should probably go with about 500. And we'll go with a radius of 180, which will give us a full half circle. And when we touch the end, that will bring that around. And we'll grab this track now. We'll set the bending flexible track so we can join that. do that, we've got track which goes from the hidden yard down around to the parking lanes, over and around, and comes back and then goes back up to the hidden yard. We'll go ahead, and I want to look at that in the grid view, and we want to zoom out just a little bit and scroll over. We're looking for any red lines except for the one which is at the top of the ramp that goes down, and I don't see any, so the trackage for the parking level is now complete. We're going now and make a couple of minor modifications. If we go over to extras and click on track list, it lists each of the different types of tracks, the number of that track, the number of pieces of that track, and so forth. Now this is fine if you're not going to be doing any programming or making any controls, but if you're going to be programming, which we will be in a few minutes, you'll find that it's better to have an individual name for each track. We'll be pulling up a plugin called Track Positioning Tools, and it gives you a warning to ask if you want to run it. Now these tools, these plugins have all been tested to ensure that they are safe. The author's name on this is Easy. Easy is a member of the Model Railroad Club that created the 3D Train Studio. So we want to say yes, we're going to do that. And it will pull it up. We'll go over to track number, and we'll choose continuous by name, numbered by single name, track separator, all tracks, and we'll go ahead and we'll number the tracks. And there we go, and that's quick and easy. And when we go ahead and go to the track list now, we'll see that each track identifies the type of track followed by a number, and so there's a lot more listed here, but that will enable us to specify specific tracks when we want to program them. So that's what we've done, and every piece has been numbered. Now a track layout without any controls is not particularly useful, because that would mean you'd have to stop at every point and adjust any track that needed to be adjusted, such as the switch. This track can be switched from one side to the other by pressing the arrow keys, but it's not particularly useful for smooth operation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll take this track here, and it's 55212, and we'll take this track which is 55220, and we'll go up here to the top. We'll go ahead and we'll open the programming dialog. Programming is similar to object-oriented programming. We're going to go ahead and create a new event group, and then we'll go ahead and we'll create a new event in it. And we can go ahead and click on this, and click on the pencil, and that will allow us to give the event group a name, and we'll call this return switching. And then we'll go down here and we'll click on this, and we'll go ahead and we'll change this also to return switching. The event that we want is for train enters a track, and we'll choose all locomotives and choose 212. Five, 5, 2, 1, 2, 0. And you'll note here it highlights the track, so you know you've got the right one. And so this is the track. So when the train enters this track, the action will be to set or toggle track switch, and we want to go ahead and pick the track switch 55220, and then we want to set the position for 0.